Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to our Father's Day edition of the Freedom Project. Today we have Dr. Rashi Agarwal, who is MBBS and a known psychologist. Uh, Thank you for joining us, Dr. Rashi. Good evening. How are you?
Hi, I'm Dr. Rashi Agarwal. I'm MD in psychiatry. So I deal with everything related to mind and mental health. So just to clarify, there is a very big difference between being a psychiatrist and a psychologist. So a psychiatrist is somebody who's trained in medicine and I'm qualified enough to write down medication in case you need them. And we usually work in collaboration with psychologists. So they undergo intensive training to provide therapy to the same patients.
Uh, yes. Apologies for my mix-up there.
No worries.
Thank you for
Very
clarifying.
frequently confused.
Yes, that is there. So, without further ado, I'd like to jump into the topic and. Yeah. So, my first question to you regarding men's mental health or mental health in general, basically, is what is the basic, in your experience, what is the biggest stigma surrounding mental health that you have come across?
The biggest thing is stigma, I would say, because people generally feel that they don't need to visit a professional for anything related to mental health. They have this kind of a notion that if I'm sick, like if I have a fever, if I have a diarrhea, if I have diabetes, then it's okay to go to a doctor. But if you have something like stress, anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, that these things just arise out of the mind and maybe they're just due to overthinking, which is the very common notion that maybe I'm just stressed out or maybe I'm just overthinking a lot and that's why this is happening. But that's not true. There's a lot of neurotransmitters and neurochemicals in the body that come into play, and that's why such things happen. So that's why I've said that if anything such goes beyond 2 weeks, that's a very rough estimate we take generally. That if you're feeling stressed, not able to eat properly, you have low sex drive, your sleep is disturbed, and you just don't feel the energy enough like to gather them and move around, and you feel fatigued. These are very vaguely, I would say, symptoms of depression and anxiety, and usually manifest this way. It's not a very clear cut bookish picture that we see that a person is always sad. No, that does not happen from the very beginning. You might have fluctuations in this mood, and a lot of things come into play, but people have this notion that maybe if I eat well and I think positive and I have a good sleep, everything is going to be fine. But sadly, that does not work that way.
Um, so this is something that I've been thinking that if you change your small habits and then eventually they lead up, and then you don't suffer from mental health. But uh, I've been thought otherwise. Thank you for sharing that with us. Uh, so my next question is related to the topic. Um, so it's a broad question. What do you think about men's mental health?
Further stigmatized topic, I would say that whenever we talk about mental health, we generally discuss females. And because of the very common notion that men are supposed to be strong, you are the bearer, like you are the person who's holding the family together and you're the breadwinner in the family, and if you are not strong, what will happen to the other person? So this kind of this fake toxic masculinity that runs through males a lot, and they have this kind of a burden on them that I have to be strong for my family, I can't break down like this. So generally when males come to your clinic and they show you, so they don't exhibit the typical symptoms that are like that, say this textbook symptoms, because since childhood they have not been conditioned to express their emotions. So men are frequently said things like these, that oh, you don't cry, girls cry, guys don't cry, and what are you doing this, are you throwing like a girl? So we don't realize that these statements that we vaguely use in an everyday basis, how much they can affect your upbringing, your mental health, and this kind of the overall personality formation when men grow up. And they are like, very frequently this must have happened in relationships that you are, that girls say that I like my boyfriend or I like my husband, but he does not know how to express his feelings because we have, since the very beginning he has not been taught how to do that. So that's why this thing like man up, be strong, so these statements are very toxic because it unnecessarily puts the burden on them. And males usually present symptoms like they will say that I don't feel like myself, or I have increased anger. Very rarely males will come and say I feel sad, I feel like crying, because this is not a kind of emotion that has been embedded in them that it's okay for you to cry. So yes, very much again this toxic masculinity culture and very very pro feminist, because if we, I very very strongly feel that feminism is just not for women. Equality has to be there, and when we move for things like this against the patriarchal system and the toxic masculinity, it has to benefit both the side, and it will surely.
Yes, rightly true. So like it's we're both part of the same coin, right? Like males and females. So it's one race, the human race, and so all of us have to come together to create that equality, right? Uh, rightly said. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So my next question is related to your experience. So how has your work experience influenced your opinion of gender stereotypes?
Uh, when we talk about these things, as I said, as they are written in the books, and when you start practicing clinically, books also say that there is a gender variation and how the presentation differs, but we have like a set criteria kind of that you need to tick off, because we know that there's not something like a blood test that I can order and say, see, this is how much depression you have, or this is how much anxiety. So we have to work through clinical interviews and a lot of questionnaires to work with, and ultimately with the experience, it all starts getting saved here. So you don't need to go back and look at a lot of things. Yes, when you start practicing clinically and you see patients day in and day out, like I am working in two hospitals every day, so round the clock I am on call, and as I just said, presentations differ a lot, and each and every person is different. Even if a mother and daughter, they come to your clinic and they have both have depression, they might show very different presentations in the same. Similarly, when we see a gender variation, we see that females generally, as they have been socially cultured, that it's okay for you to cry and you are as it is a weak species, the things like that, that has been burdened on them, plus a lot of social cultural economic factors that come into play. So women generally come and they will be like, they start crying, they'll tell you a lot of social factors that have led them to this condition right now. That, see, as it is, there was some kind of economical bias. If there was little bit economic crisis, the funds were diverted towards the male child. So it starts from the very beginning. As you grow up, then higher education, then you get married, you leave your home, go else somewhere else, and we know how much the concept, and just after marriage, how somewhere problematic it becomes for everybody involved, and it leads to a lot of stress and mental health issues also. Similarly, males will not come and present themselves that, see, this thing happened and that's why I'm sad. And hence it takes them a lot of time, because nothing, I would say, very significant happens, like no boom is happening. So you don't necessarily need to have one big thing to lead you somewhere in depression. There may be a lot of small things happening continuously, which just leads to this breakdown also, ultimately affecting your chemical status, your neurotransmitters, and you are just not able to cope with it. Generally, when males present, it is when they are literally not able to take it anymore, and they're like, I can't sleep for the past 1 to 2 months. I am always angry, and everybody in my family is like, you are really angry, and you need to do something about that. I'm not able to go to work, and even if I'm working, I'm not able to concentrate. I don't know what's happening with me. Or either my sex drive is very, very low. I just don't feel like doing anything. So they come at that point that they feel, I can't take it anymore. And they will ask very innocent, I think, questions like these, that, hey, doctor, what do I have? What can I go back and tell my family that I'm consulting for this condition? Because you, the words depression and anxiety are so stigmatized, they can't tell this. It's like, give me something that I can tell my family that this is happening to me. And sometimes you have to cater to their needs just to be, I would say, relax, that they're just coming for treatment. So just one person showing up any day, the days I have more number of male patients, that is kind of satisfying to me per se, because I feel that, bravo, I know how much patriarchal system you are fighting to come here and expose yourself and let your feelings out, because I know how difficult it can be for a male to come and express that something is wrong with me. Because, again, we as a society have not taught them to be vulnerable at all. You're supposed to be strong.
Yes, like you rightly said, everyone's like, so, it starts from the household and then eventually it builds up over time, and there is a point where there is no limit that you can cross. Like it's directly off the edge. Um, yeah, and I think everyone has taken something from this, and they know how not to deal with, like how. not to stigmatize mental health and how to deal with it, right? So first step is acknowledging it, and then you can move on to the recovery process, right? um, so like you said before, so one annoying stereotype about men that you have, that of men that is there in society, and that you think should be mentioned and should be, everyone should have a lookout for that.
Let's start, I think, from statistics. See, if we just go very crudely by statistics, men tend to commit suicide. A trigger warning here: people who don't want, you can skip this part and move forward. Men have somewhere suicide in the ratio of 3.5 to 1 as compared to females. So they are like 3.5 times more susceptible to commit suicide. And then when it comes to women, it's like they have more attempts rather than completing suicide. And somehow, when we see this about depression, we say that depression is around 4 times more common in females. So, people who would understand stats would get me right. If females have 4 times depression and male have 1 time, still their suicide rate is 3.5 times higher. So, imagine if these many people are committing more suicide, how much higher number it is compared to the number of people who have depression in this whole bubble per se. And why is this happening? Because even if these many females have this much depression, they still reach out. They talk to their family members, they talk to their friends. We know, hey girls, we know about it. You talk in groups, and at least I'm not saying that helps in any way, that venting out does not obviously cure mental illnesses. But somebody or somewhere will be so concerned for you that they might take you to a professional. A lot of times this happens that mother, sister, sister-in-laws, grandmas, they come with their females and like, I think she's not well. Never this has happened, or very, very rarely the males come with the family member and they are saying, see, they are not well. They themselves, and without telling the family members, chup chup aake, they come and say like, I was going to work and I read your article, I saw your board and I thought I should come to you once. And this gives you kind of hope. And I would say sometimes you get this much involved that if they don't turn up for repeat or like a follow-up consultation, you kind of feel bad that they fell back into the system because it's not cured in 15-20 days. So you expect people to come back and be like, just take this medication, I will write it for a longer duration of time, I don't want you to get stigmatized or feel shy of coming here, we just want to you forget, you should get the cure if you get it anywhere from anyhow. So that's why I think one more thing, especially in times like COVID, a lot of people have come on telemedicine, like teleconsultation is available. So that's why this has taken away a lot of stigma that what if people see me going to the psychiatrist? What if I find somebody who I already know? So this has interesting, this has happened. So two relatives, they came to my clinic at the same time, and both of them kind of hid in places because they did not want to tell each other that they both are consulting me. So they're like, oh, I have a fever, that's why I've come here. We have a multi-specialty clinic. So they went to the other doctor that I have a stomach ache and that's why I've come here. So imagine, it is stigmatized to that level that people would just leave their appointment and go to the other doctor just so that other person does not get to know about them. So it is very, very problematic. And one more thing, I always say that men should come up and men should open up. But to other people, even men, women, anybody who's identifying as a man or woman, you should also give them a receptive ear. Like if I say that I want to talk about mental health and it should be equalized, have I given a non-biased, non-judgmental ear when my father, my husband, or my brother, the three most important and closely related men in my life, when they came to share things with me? Or I just brushed it off by saying, oh, you are a male and don't talk about it. So when we say that you talk about it, we also need to have non-judgmental ears and people who are equally supportive. So we, at least in, I would say I'm privileged enough that in my surroundings, we have this kind of a gender neutrality that if I'm crying, so due to any reason, though my husband wouldn't be like, oh, don't cry, nothing has happened. He'll like, okay, vent it out. And after it's done, he'll be like, now tell me what has happened and we'll talk about it. Or if very simple things like if he's grooming, so it won't be like, why are you dressing up? Are you a girl? It's like, it's his choice. So you just don't need to be like, it's not about men to open up. It's also us as a society to be accepting of this fact that they are also humans and they don't need to bear the burden of world on their shoulders. So catch them young from very early age. Whenever people, even I say, if a couple comes to me for any reason and I see a young boy with them, so I tell them these kind of things, that don't go home and teach him that don't throw like a girl or don't cry. So it starts very young. If you start this gender neutrality from the very beginning, the males will not be pressurized that you have to study, you are the earning member in the family. So this kind of social pressure also adds up a lot, that even if you imagine 24-25-year-old males and they have this kind of a burden that I have to take care of the economic and all the financial, every responsibility in the house. If fridge is not working, so and so will do the work. Microwave is not working, so he's supposed to do it. And it's like, how do I know these things? I'm like, I'm as old as you. How am I just supposed to know everything about mechanics, repairing, and finances just because I'm a male? So the bias is in both the sides, and that's why it harms both the genders equally.
Yes, rightly. Like if you stigmatize mental health in general, eventually everyone is at a loss. Not one is going to benefit from stigmatizing mental health, right? uh, and you did say, like the story went, two relatives came to your place and they went their separate ways in the right. So what I took away from this is, and you also mentioned that you're online consulting, right? So based on this, do you think like currently in the future we stigma, we can help educate around us related to mental health, right? So that will online consulting help like currently, like as a short term goal, I would say.
No, telemedicine is like it. This is just the beginning. I say a lot of people were already on the tele consultation apps before, but this has just increased in COVID. And one of the very basic reason is that first of all, accessibility. Plus, if everybody obviously see, it's not about only the people in the cities are on telemedicine. You know that currently everybody has a mobile phone, everybody has internet. Though they might have, there would be a difference in how to the category of to the level of which they use your mobile phone. But very commonly, I have people from the villages who consult via tele app. Because see, you're using YouTube, you're using Facebook, Instagram, everything. Teleconsultation app is just like any other, and many times it's just a link, and you just have to click, and you can book up consultation. And they prefer doing that because they're like, I don't want to come out in COVID and risk myself and you both. That's very true. Secondly, as technology advances, I would expect this to move forward. Like now we have, with just in 1 year, I have seen so much advancement in these apps that the files are stored, so you don't like physically you would see the prescriptions like this. Similarly in tele you can do that. Everything is stored, so maybe it becomes more interactive, like we already have video consultation apps. Or maybe it, I would say 5-7 year down the line, it has a hologram that the patient just pops out and you can actually see what's happening to them. Maybe like there can be a number of possibilities, but yes, at least the data storage and revival is easier. Soft copies easier. Pages many a time they're drenched in rain. The kids tear them. And number we know how much logistic and a lot of issues are there. But with soft copies, you're like just click off a button. I can see all 6 months what has happened, what did we do, how much progress did we make, and similarly with counseling sessions also. Otherwise, there's used to be like this thick book where you kept on writing the notes and you had to carry them for another session. And imagine if I change places, so am I supposed to carry all the homework that I do? And I can consult from anywhere. So if I'm at clinic, if I'm at home, if I'm traveling, I'm still at the liberty to helping people out. So it is just going to go forward from here, and it has somehow many people are working on integrating and kind of blurring the line between reality and virtuality. So many times it's that if you are busy somewhere in other procedure and you have 10-15 minutes and a patient is waiting outside, this has just come up last week. Somebody was telling me about that they can consult from there only via tele. So it saves a lot of time, money, energy, and yes, main thing with psychiatry, I would say the stigma. Just a lot of people visit me from a different part of this city because they feel that people would not know them here. So you risk, obviously, I live in a smaller town, I live in a tier 2 city. So you tend to we have this kind of saying, if you go anywhere you find 10 people that you already know. So especially in a doctor's clinic, where it's a multi-specialty clinic, 100 200 patients, you always at the risk of running into somebody and so much stigmatized that you can't tell them that, oh, I've come to consult a psychiatrist, because the first thing, what will they say? Aap pagal ho kya? We all know these kind of words are used on a daily basis, and sadly this is one of the field where the doctor, the illness, and the patient, everything is stigmatized. So even the doctor carries this stigma that I treat mental illnesses, the patient, that they feel that it's something bad has happened to me, and the illnesses are as it is stigmatized that yes, ये तो पागलों की बीमारी होती है, this is something that's not normal. But eventually I say, with curriculum also, now I think you and I both, we, when we see kids in school today, they are so much aware. And I look 10 years back and I like, I didn't know things like did exist. Though coming from a family of doctors, I would not have heard things like depression, anxiety so commonly as we do today, even on social media or in general conversations. When I was in class 12, I would not have been so aware that anxiety is something so real and it's affecting so many people. So, yes, awareness is there. We are moving forward, but things will only improve when things like menstrual health and mental health, very basic things. And third, I would say filing your taxes. Very, very basic things that kind of embedded it from a very earlier age to life skills, broader terms, so that you just you're not just, I would say, educated, you are a smart. So it's not about just having a degree, a piece of paper. You actually have life skills to navigate through life. Otherwise, you reach this 25, 27 years of age and you're like, shit, I don't know how to file my taxes. I'm earning now and I need to find somebody for it. So basic life skills have to be somewhere taken down the curriculum into primary school. That girls from 6 years, sixth class, seventh class, they know what menstrual hygiene is and they can navigate life accordingly. So yes, things broadly will only change when we start at a very earlier age.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, like you rightly said, we have to incorporate these teachings or these awareness about various topics such as mental health, and filing taxes. I think can come later on, but all these things can, from a young age, I think everyone will benefit, even as a society, if we are aiming towards becoming a global superpower, right? If India wants to reach there, we have to reach a milestone of wherein all of us don't stigmatize day-to-day activities that happen regularly, which we can't control, right? So yeah, I think definitely it'll we'll be moving in the right step. Yeah. So my next question is related to globalization and how the modern man usually is, right? Um, like a modern metro city man is. So, what do you think of the new metrosexual man? As in,
I'm all for it. As you said, we are not two sides of a coin. We stand on the same side of the coin. This is a very old concept that men are from Mars and girls are from Venus. I would say, if people who have not been following, do check out Siddharth Batra on Instagram. He's kind of the real deal breaker, that you see him and you realize this is what metrosexuality is. Secondly, as I said again and again, it's not about men to come up to us and repeatedly put the burden on them to come up to us and share your feelings. It is also up to us to lend them a very comfortable and a non-judgmental ear. Secondly, when we talk about this metrosexuality, I think our generation is kind of very accepting to this fact. But when you go one generation up, they would cringe and make this kind of faces, be like, men go to parlors and salons, like, you just need a haircut. Like, no, I need proper grooming, I take care of myself. Do you know, there's like, when you go to get packages for wedding, there are like separate packages for grooms also now, because like, yeah, it's your big day also. Initially it was the concept that's the girl of the day of the bride and she is supposed to do everything and enjoy all the attention. But obviously, when, as I said, if you're both equally educated, you're both earning, you're both spending the same amount, then why not? Why deprive them of their self care and their grooming also? So earlier it was, if a man is like taking a lot of time to get ready, and people in the family would be like, "लड़की हो क्या? इतना क्यों तैयार होते हो?" Very common notion. I think each and everyone would have heard this line while growing up by one way or another, that they take so much time to get ready, just like girls. So this is like a very old concept that girls get ready in many many families, and people who come to me and they very clearly say that I get ready faster than my husband or my boyfriend, and he like really takes a lot of time and pains into how he looks. And like, absolutely fine, it's his choice if he wants to look good, and what's wrong? Don't be like, well, it will first of all give you the freedom to live your life how you want. Secondly, it's always good to see well groomed and like well managed and good smelling men, which I think, yeah, we don't have the opportunity on a very daily basis. Again, it's very particular. It's your choice completely. But yes, metrosexuality is on the rise, and I don't understand how do people have a problem with it when people just want to look good and take care of themselves. They're not harming anybody in the process of doing that. It's helping the economy also. So what can go wrong anywhere?
Yes, yes. True. That's very true. But still, some people, like there are people who have accepted this fact in larger cities and in larger places, but still, like you said, only on the wedding day there are groom packages, which people use groom packages. Otherwise, like being a male myself, I've seen people just go to the salon, get a haircut, and then if they have time, they'll get a massage or something like that. But yeah, so yeah, I think everyone should pay attention to their well-being and their hygiene, and definitely wellness is attractive, and being clean is attractive. uh,
Completely your choice. At least being hygienic should be there, but being attractive and good looking, it's completely up to your discretion. If you want to do that, go ahead.
yes, yeah, hygiene is a must. Hygiene is basic, but then the yes. So one question, like, since it today being men's mental health month, and since it being Father's Day today as well, right? So one question I would like to touch upon that topic today. So there are characteristics that define a father. Like, from when you're young, you tend to look at your father a different way. Like, he's the provider, he is the one with all the answers, and your mother is there to take care of you. She'll groom you. Uh, so my question would be, like, what are some of the characteristics that you think defines a father, and how do these differ from the way mothers are viewed?
Yeah, like you, I think clearly, very clearly explained. Somewhere we are trying to blur the line, but still, a lot of people have said this, and we have heard these things around the family also, that fathers are pillars of strength. So that's very true, and you really don't know the value of one, unfortunately, until you lose any of your parents. Which, again, it's very very sad thing that's happened a lot in COVID. So I think even with me also, if I have some kind of issue, I'll just look back and be like, Papa, can you help me out? This is how we have been trained to do, or like accustomed to being. And when you're sick and you are like want to like crave or something, you're like, Mommy, can you help me with this? And like blah 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 blah, blah, this happened. Yes. So fathers mostly we view them as people with wisdom, strength, and yes, when you want to get hold of any kind of finances. And mothers, when you're not feeling good, you're feeling low, they're like comfort, love, care, and food. You're always like, Mama, khana, please give me something to eat. That's what happening in COVID. You're like just working and eating, two kinds of things. Maybe I say with the next generation of parents, like my generation, now when we are going into parenthood, I see that how much work has been. I would not say we initially used to feel that work needs to be equally divided. Now we say that there's no kind of a division in any kind of work. So it was like if the child was crying, the father can move the child to and fro, and the child wants to get fed, the mother is going to feed. But now we know that we have seen young parents with very young toddlers. There's no kind of a work division. It's like whoever is earliest available to the child, even with changing nappies or anything, they are there for them. So yes, that's why I say if this kind of gender neutrality is going to help at each and every step in your life. Whether you're a kid right now, you're a teenager, you're just married, or you're just proceeding towards adulthood and elderly age right now. So this helps at a very larger level. Now there's not a burden on any person to either help around the household chores, that this is my job and can you help me in that. It's like it's a job for both the people. And similarly, I say comes economic independence also. It's not upon the male entirely now to run the house or run the show. They know if their partner is working and earning, they don't have this kind of burden which we used to see maybe in our grandparents, that I am the breadwinner in the family, and what if something goes wrong, what if I lose my job, and how will I manage the finances. So at least now with two income household, this has somehow reduced that. It's okay, we both are earning and we both are working around the house. There may be a discretion upon whatever the availability of time and skill you have, but yes, this is changing and we are working towards the change, and these are the kind of change that we welcome with open hands, because it takes away the burden and pressure from both of them. And now we don't, a lot of time now, I think you would have seen, especially in COVID also, unfortunately one member of the family lost their job. So it was not like the world just came crashing down. At least one person was working and earning, and there was still some savings that you could use up through. So yes, now this kind of a feeling is not there. I think with my generation, this still exists. I would, no matter how much I try to change that, view parents differently, because that's how we've been brought up. This is wisdom and strength, and this is love and care. The lines keep blurring depending on the situation, but this is the core how I think personally and my generation views this as.
Yes, I feel yeah. Currently, till I think 2000s babies, the millennials will get this point, right? And then they are working. They are on this cusp of revolution where we are moving from one type of mindset into the other, right?
Just one little example here. I have when I talk about menstrual health, a lot of my female followers, they message me that yes, my father goes out to buy menstrual pads and goes out to buy tampons for me. So this was something that was kind of new to me, and I was like, yeah, we talk about this so much, but until we see the actions are changing, we would not believe this happening. So maybe when I was a teenager, I would not expect this to happen around me. But now, as things are changing, we see that this is happening. A lot of people vouch for that. Yes, this is a normality in my household. So we can take this as also fine point that's blurring the line. That so what? It's okay to talk about fathers with these kind of things.
Yes, that is true. And if actions speak louder than words, right? And then everybody, like, if the actions are there, then we will know that we're moving in the right direction, right? So one last question before we go is today, like, not people have been viewing their parents differently, and some of them have a different kind of dynamic between themselves and their parents. Like, you're more open with your mother, right? And since today being Father's Day, there will be posters on Instagram, on social media, for wishing, like, from by people wishing their parents, wishing their father a happy Father's Day, but nothing in person, like, where you wish your father a happy Father's Day, and stuff like that. Like, even on these apps, they might have their parents blocked or some sort of scene might be. But it's just for the world to.
Totally.
Yes. So my question is, how can a person at home, wish their father one to one? Like, how can how will it be easier for them to express their love?
There's going to be like n number of difficulties when you try to do that. Yes, there have been a lot of jokes about this fact that don't just wish them on social media, go and wish them in real life. And it's not about it. They're your parents, and if you have a good relationship with them, then this has to be done throughout the year. Then people are just wishing on social media, and home we have seen those cartoons and memes like just lying down, not working at home at all, or not helping your parents around. I tell you what are these socio-cultural problems when you try to wish your father a good Father's Day. What is the issue? First of all, they would say this is a very Western foreign concept. This does not used to happen in our time, and this is all weird. Don't do this. Secondly, if they know this is kind of concept, be like, yeah, thank you. Go back. Go to study. Third, they will be like, don't spend money on me. I don't need anything from you. I have everything that I have. So still, even if we have seen this, that even if you try to get your mother something, see, she'll, when you start earning, this kind of feeling comes in you. I'll get my parents something at your first salary and all. So mother will still be accepting of this fact that you got her something from your own money. But if father will entirely deny it and will force you to return that stuff because they can't take something from their children, this they have this kind of aura around them. I am the provider. You can't give me anything, and I really don't need anything. The sacrificial nature that is embedded in them. I will give everything that I have, and I don't need anything in return from you guys. So it is, yes, somewhere I think a very Western concept. We did not used to have these kind of days few years back, and I think this only the Valentine week I remember from my teenage was very well there, and I think Mother's Day I remember, but not any more days that we celebrate now. So yes, culturally very difficult for you to convince your father, and God forbid you got them something, they are going to be on top of your head instead of being like thank you. They'll be like why? Don't spend money. We don't need anything. This is not true. So yes, try to have a heart-to-heart conversation. I know a lot of people they write these letters or a long WhatsApp messages when they're living in different cities. I We all know parents are very giving and they really don't want anything in return. So I more than any kind of again up to whatever you and your parents like, but a heartfelt message or something that they would have done in your life, and if you can point that out, this would just show that you are grateful to them, that hey, thank you for giving me a very good education. I whatever I am here, I am because of you. Thank you for teaching me so and so values. Yeah, like I did something yesterday and I could just do that just because of the teachings that you have given me. I tried to help somebody who was in need because I remembered that you said that we should do this and this. Just try to remind them of an old memory of an incident so they will just feel touched. And that is all, because majority of people I know how much their father hate getting any kind of gifts because they feel you're wasting money on them, because they have felt that I am the provider and I will save all my money and give everything to you. Generally this is what happens with people around us. And yes, they will I and this is not something we do once a year. We know we all are growing up, going into adulthood, have our own lives, but intermittently pause and look back. Your parents are getting old. They might not be living with you right now. But just here and there, very small messages or a short phone call. Hey, are you okay? I was just kind of worried because it rained more there today. It was very sunny. Matlab, you could take up anything just to call them up and say, "I this just made me think of you. I hope you are well." That would be more appreciative rather than taking out one particular day for them and doing a lot of things. But yes, I think we like celebrations. What's wrong in celebrating? That's why, see, what are birthdays, what are anniversaries, what is new year? So just an opportunity to get together and enjoy it, whatever you like as a family, whatever everybody is comfortable in doing, we do that.
Yes, thank you. I think everyone's gotten some courage. They've gotten at least an idea of how to, you know, talk to their parents and how to make it special for them without, having that stigma that how will they react, right? Um, so thank you so much for sharing this. If we had more time, we could have gone for for a long time. But thank you so much for doing this today. Do you have any messages you would like to, or anything you like to share with the audience before we leave?
Yes, I would just in the end like to say that be more receptive. That's all my take from here today. Men will try and they time and again try and tell you about how you feel, but it already takes it a lot of courage for them to open up to you that they have technically been labeled as not the vulnerable species. But if they do, give them even if you don't understand what they're going through, just hear them out and they might, if they need any kind of professional help, accompany them and like push them a little forward, that let's go. And nobody needs to stay and suffer in silence. You really don't know what kind of a beautiful life awaits you on the other side. So just sitting at home and thinking that this might just go away on its own and I'll just shrug off this depression, this anxiety might just go away by deep breathing exercises. Believe me, don't sit on this illness. Consult a professional today and live the best life that has been given to you.
Yes, I think everyone is striving to reach that point, and thank you so much, Dr. Ashi, for being here today and educating us basically, educating me and the viewers today. Thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. And one last message to our viewers before we go: stay safe, everybody. Stay indoors. Take care of your physical health
And
as well,
vaccinated.
and get vaccinated as well, right? So thank you so much, every. See you next Sunday at 6 p.m. You can visit Dr. Rashi at www.drrashi.com, and we will share social media links in the description after this live is done. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend. Thank you, Dr. Rashi.
Thank you. Have a very happy